Hi guys, welcome back to The Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books. One book. I read one book this week, and I'm happy I did it. I plan to only read this book. This be the only book I read for the week I read it for. Yeah, that makes sense. Because I wanted to savor it. I thought it might be a little dense, to go over some stuff if I had to, things like that. So this week I read A Darker Shade of Magic by V.E. Schwab. This was in my library haul the other week, if you guys noticed it. So, okay. Fantasy, not my thing. This book, 4 stars. All right, let's get into it. This came out in 2015, so there will be spoilers because I don't know how to express why I like this book so much without giving some stuff away. So I understand if you don't want to watch it, but let's start with some stuff. Okay, so overall, world building, fantastic. A writing style, the only way I could describe the writing style is like smooth. Just like smooth like water. Like, I'm reading it and then like I look up and I blinked and before I know it, I read 200 pages, Like you just fall into this book and I love when that happens. I love when that happens. So, the characters I enjoyed. So there's basically, I want to say like 3 important main characters that aren't the bad guys. 2 of them we are in their POV. One of them we're not, but he's important in a different way. I enjoyed the characters for the most part. We'll get into that in detail. I enjoyed the bad guys, I enjoyed the magic system. I like that it stuck to the magic system's rules to a certain point. I like the overarching storyline completely. And I think this is a duet. So hopefully my library will have the second one for this when I return these books. So I can, read the second book. Sorry, my nose is killing me. So allergies. Okay. I'm a little over the place because the only time I had to film this was like first thing in the morning. So I haven't even had my morning coffee yet. So if I'm a little crazy, blame that. Okay. Let's get into the characters. So, mostly we're in Kel's point of view. He is a traveler. So that means he can go between worlds. He is the adopted son of the Red London's royalty. As you get into his story, you find out he doesn't really feel like their son. He feels more like a prized possession, but that doesn't extend to Prince Rai. I think his name is Rai, who is, the son of the king queen. They're like best friends. They are so cute. Rai obviously looks up and admires Kel so much, and Kel is super protective of Rai, and like I like that there was no jealousy, no kind of bullshit there. You know what I mean? Because that's been done so much, right? And then there's Lila. Oh, we'll get into Lila. Lila gave me whiplash, okay? I loved her. I hated her. She was great. She annoyed the shit out of me. Like, it just went back and forth. She annoyed the shit out of me. Oh, I victory lap for her. I was like, oh yeah, you go, girl. Like, it was just whiplash. And it was like on the page too. Like, one page, loved her. Next page, annoyed the shit out of me. I was like, next page, loved her again. I was like, what is happening right now? So, Kel, he doesn't really know his name. He's just called Kel because he has these markings on his arm, KL, and those are marks of a forbidden soul magic that was done on him for him to not remember anything before he passed 5 years old. And while I was reading that, I was like, who the fuck remembers shit when they're 5? Like, I mean, unless it's like super traumatic, I guess we kind of have like vague, hazy emotional memories, I guess. But like, I was like, all right, savant, remembering everything. Okay. And he believes that the king and queen did that to him. And I like that he's not perfect, because he travels through worlds on behest of his king and queen, traveling, like taking messages back and forth through the worlds, except Black London. That's closed off. We'll get into that. And he smuggles things. It's against the law. It's considered treason, but he's like can't help himself, and he's really drawn to music boxes. And I wonder, like when I was reading that part, I wondered if that had anything to do with, you know, his lost memories. You know, if maybe something there kind of triggered something in his memories that were sealed away. So I thought that was interesting. So he goes to Grey London, which is basically our world, right? And the best way to describe the world setup, it's like it's subway stops. You know what I mean? So after Grey London, he comes back. We get a scene with him and Rye, how they're best buddy friends. It's great. And then he's tasked to go to White London, and White London is between Black London and Red London. And when Black London had their magical plague, which we see in this book, which is actually pretty intense and freaky, Red London retreated. Now it's called Red London because it always has this kind of glow of red from the Thames, which is like this huge magical source. So in Red London, magic is plentiful, right? The Traveler magic, not so much. It's just him and Holland, who works for the White Court, the White King and Queen, who are twins. Now, pretty early on, you know something's up with Holland. I was wondering if he was the main bad guy or just like a pawn. You know, something was going on. Because pretty early on in the book, I think it's like around page 100, and these pages go by fast, which I was really surprised by. Holland gives the prince a necklace, and you're like, okay, like in his room, a clandestine meeting, he secretly gives the prince a necklace, and he makes his royal guard forget that he's even there, like through magic. And normally I'll be like, oh, he just gave him a gift, whatever. But the fact that he made the guards forget he was even there, I was like, something's afoot. So when Kel is told to go to, dog's crashing on the carpet, to go to White London, you kind of get a little bit of not the lore, the spring lore did not feel like a lore dump at any point, right? But when he's going to White London, you get how he thinks how the Red London always felt guilty about closing up their borders and not helping White London fight off the Black Plague from Black London. And the magical plague, again, we see it later, and it's, wow, it's pretty freaky. So he's always nervous going to White London, and he's excited at the same time, because he's an adrenaline junkie. Like, he just is. So he goes to White London, and we see how different White London is. It's called White London because there's always like white ash and everything. And how hungry the people are for magic. Like, it feels like almost an addiction, to the point where like he doesn't want to be caught there at night because like they, you know, want to eat it from him. And we are introduced to the White King Queen, who are twins. They're sadistic. They love torturing and killing their people. I was like, oh, obviously bad guys. But also, obviously, why didn't Kel tell his adopted parents anything? Like how the White Queen like forces him to kneel to her, basically like sending electricity through him, you know, like torture, you know, like hurt him. Like, he doesn't tell them anything. And I'm like, okay, like he says he just feels like a bauble to them, but like we don't know, because the King Queen, the Red King Queen, are only on page for like maybe 5 pages, maybe, and that's spread out through the book. So like you see them like maybe 3 times, 2.5, you know. So like, okay, I'll have to trust you on this, bro, because I don't know. So, you know, something, obviously they're the main bad guys, you know. So he goes back, well, he's gonna go back, right? And he's stopped by this woman that asks him to take this stone to Red London, and he's wary at first, but then he does it, because, you know, he's a smuggler, sure. He ends up in Grey London, where he's set upon by Holland. Now, I will say that when the later on in the big bad guy monologue, right? The White Queen says like how she tricked him to taking the stone into Red London because if they were caught, it was better he get caught than them, and aren't they so brilliant? And the thing about that, I was like, what? Because I was like, what are you even talking about, lady? Because like that made no sense. And the thing why it made no sense, right? Because Holland jumps Kel at Grey London to try to take the stone back, and like egregiously harms him. Like he's bleeding out. Like it's really bad. So I'm like, but why? Because Holland attacked him in Grey London, not Red London. So how would he be blamed for bringing the stone into Red London if your minion attacked him before all that? So like that was the only point that stood out to me as like BS. Like maybe really rushed, kind of like, oh, there's a plot hole, let me fix this. Because there were no plot holes in the story, which I appreciated. Stuff that wasn't mentioned that I'm thinking maybe in the duet, right? But because this was so well plotted out, the story, that part stood out so badly because I was like, no, that doesn't track. That's, you know, the whole story is fantastic. So this low effort part, I see you, right? But that's kind of the only part that I was like, what is the writer thinking? That's it. And for me, the judgmental bitch that I am, that's pretty good. You know what I mean? That's really good. That's why that's 4 stars. Anyway, so he's bleeding out, and we're gonna leave him there. He's bleeding out in the alley in Grey London. We're gonna leave him there and talk about Lila. Oh, Lila. She grew up on the streets, and she decides she's going to steal instead of selling herself. Fair. And London, this is probably around the late 1800s, you know, kind of that time period. At least technology-wise, that seems to be correct. She dresses up as a man to steal, which is fair, because, like, hell yeah, that's dangerous for her, you know what I mean? We get that she likes stealing, not just because she has to, but she likes it. You know, she likes the rush of it. She likes the power of it. She has no problem killing and being ruthless to protect herself. And she's kind of selfish in the way, not in a bad way, but like in the way when if someone grows up and they only have themselves to lean on kind of way. You know what I mean? So, like, I totally got her, totally understood her. Now, when she meets Kel, like sees Kel bleeding out, she gives him a handkerchief to stop the bleeding, but she also pickpockets him. And I'm like, she didn't even, like that part, because like we're in Kel POV more at that point. So like, you're kind of like, what the hell? And I get it, because it's to move the plot along, it's for them to meet, and it's completely within her character. But I was like, she's supposed to be a hero, right? Like what's happening? And it's just like, almost like she couldn't help herself, you know? And there's another part in the story that like, well, I'll get to that. So, you know, he tracks her through the handkerchief because the stone that was given to him in White London is really dangerous. It's from Black London. And he realizes that. It's from Black London and it's like like pure magic itself. But there's something very corrupt about it. He doesn't realize that at the moment, but like, he does eventually. And it almost has this addicting property to it, which I completely correlated with the White Londoners and how they're almost feral for someone else's magic to consume it, you know? So I was like, interesting. He tracks her down. Like, she's caught, right? But she's still like, I don't have it. But then she's the seasoned thief that like, when he's like, where's the stone? She looks at where she puts it. I was like, girl, you're better than that. So they have this weird fight. And like the whole fight, I was so annoyed with Lila. I was so annoyed. I was like, I get it. I understand. Both people were in what their characters were. And it's, you know, so Lila comes along on the travels. I totally understood it. I get why it was necessary. I understand. It didn't stop me from being pissed off at her because I'm like, girl, he just appeared in your room out of nowhere. He knows you stole from him. Get the F out. Like, run, girl, run. But like, and then she kind of gets addicted to the stone. And he's addicted. The stone is bad news, right? The stone is bad news. So eventually he has to go back to Red London and takes Lila with him because he has to open the door to Black London and he's going to throw the stone in. Like, that's his plan, right? They get to Red London and they're separated and she steals. She knows this is a huge magical world. She doesn't need to steal. It's like she couldn't help herself. I'm like, is she a klepto? Like, I don't understand why she couldn't go 5 minutes. Like, that really annoyed me. And I loved it because when Kel showed up, he echoed my thoughts. 5 minutes, you couldn't go 5 minutes without stealing something, seriously? Like, it was just like, I'm happy that it was kind of the last of it, but I was like, what, that just annoyed me. I was like, Lila, you're so cool. Why do you do these things to annoy me? So, they go to Red London, they find out the necklace that was given to the prince, a trap, surprisingly. White London is trying to take over Red London because they have all the magic and things like that. And I will say the magical fighting scenes, phenomenal. And the bad guys, really good. Like the White King Queen, creepy as hell. Holland, you actually feel bad for him because it turns out he's like soul bonded. Like the White King made him his slave in like a bond that cannot, like a soul bond that can't be broken, and that comes up later. So you kind of feel bad for him because obviously he doesn't want to do this, but he doesn't have a choice, right? This book went by so fast. It's like 400 pages. It went by so fast. So they find out White London is framing Cal and trying to take over, and they hurt. Basically, the White Queen took over the prince through the gifts, right? So Cal can't fight because he doesn't want to hurt Rye, right? And then Lila shows up and is awesome, right? And the queen stabs herself when she's in Rye's body, and throws the necklace out so she could possess somebody else, right? I thought that was kind of like a reckless plan because, like, I feel like so much of this had to be meticulous, and that was kind of reckless, but we don't know a lot about the White Queen, so she might be just reckless. So I was like, okay. So Cal kind of bonds Rye and him, so Rye can't die. He can only die if Cal dies, and if Rye dies, Cal dies. Something like that. And throughout the whole story, you get how close these two are, and I really like their I was like, oh, they're so cute, brothers, yay, and Lila's like, he's dead, what are you doing? He's dead. And he's like, sure. And I get it because Lila never had somebody, so she doesn't know how desperate Cal was, so Cal uses stone to bond them, right? And then they have to go to White London to get, well, basically during the whole evil monologue thing from the possessed prince, they find out the stone is in half and the White King has the other stone. And while this is all happening, the Black Plague from Black London is back, baby. Probably because of the stone. And it's not really like a plague like how they're talking about. It was a magical plague, but it's like a sentient being kind of thing that takes over people. It could take over more than one person at once and burns them up from the inside and like devours them, their soul, everything. So nothing's left in there, just a meat puppet for him to wear or it to wear. And it like jumps from person, but it like spreads out and it burns up a person and goes into another person and so forth. So it's really freaky. And like when we're in its POV, it's just this sort of like creepy, feral, animalistic, but like this cold calculatingness to it too. It's really weird. And you get like how messed up Black London must have been, must be, all that stuff. And I couldn't help but like see the resemblance again to the White Londoner. So I guess they've already had like a little bit of this sickness in them too. Because it just craves more magic, it was freaky. So like there's like so much going on. So they go to White London for the big so Lila and Cal go to White London for the big kind of confrontation. I liked that Cal, even though he's not a good fighter per se, he's very clever. He's very clever. So he kind of tricks the White King into creating like a construct, like because during their fight with Lila in the inn, she created another version of Cal, and then when she tried to banish him, the version of Cal attacked her and tried to kill her. So he kind of puts the king like verbally and mentally in his corner, where he creates, not physically because Cal's losing, creates a snake to kill Cal, but when the king tries to banish it, it kills the king, right? And Lila fights the White Queen. It doesn't work out all too well. The White Queen takes Lila's form, and you're like, oh shit. And while Cal is fighting off the almost addictive properties of the stone that's trying to take over him, she, the White Queen wearing Lila's face, is like, oh no, please don't do it. Please don't give in. And he kills her. And Lila's lady's like, how did you know it was me? And he's like, she said please, which I thought was funny. And also very true, because she didn't say please at any point. So the end, like the, you know, yay, they killed the White King Queen, sent the Black Stone back to Black London. They go home, he clears his name, everything's okay. The people are still like weary of him, but Rye blames himself. He's like, I was so stupid. I just wanted to be like you, because he admires Cal so much. It's so cute. Lila goes off on a grand adventure. So it's a great ending. If that was, like, it would be a great ending if that was the only book. I would be like, wait, what about his past? Because, like, it hinted this would talk about his past, but it doesn't. But since pretty sure this is a duet, that might come up in the second book. I hope so. So yeah, 4 stars. I really enjoyed it. And again, fantasy, not my thing. Very few exceptions. I think this is one of them. So if you like fantasy, definitely give it a try. Because if I gave it 4 stars, you know what I mean? So I don't want to, but it's time for me to get back to the real world. Like, comment, and subscribe, and I'll see you later. Bye. Hello, welcome back to the Forgetful Scholar, and this week we're going to chat about books. 2 books. So last week I did a library haul. I visited my local library, so I read 2 of those books this week. And the first book...